and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Cool. Would you call the roll, please, Rita?
Vice Mayor Stanley,
Here.
Commissioner White,
Here.
Commissioner Orthwein, Commissioner Lyons, Commissioner Lyons,
We can't hear him.
But he's saying he's here.
Unmute and record his lips.
Yeah.
Thumbs up.
Mayor Morgan, you're
here.
here.
Perhaps we can bring Paul in later.
Also present are the Town Manager Dunham, Assistant Town Attorney Nazaro, Police Chief Allen, and myself.
Thank you very much. We've had an opportunity to review the minutes from our last meeting on July 10th. Are there any additions, corrections, comments? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the minutes from the last commission meeting.
Ms. Taylor?
Vice Mayor Stanley,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein, Commissioner Lyons, Mayor Morgan,
Yes. Okay, I believe we had a change or two to the agenda. So, Mr. Dunham?
Yes, sir. So I have two additions to make. One will be an A1A water main improvement change order. That will be number 10E. So that'll be at the end of the meeting. And then we have, we're moving 10D, which is on the last page, under items for commission action. That's the piggyback contract minor road repairs. We're moving that to the town manager's reports. So it will now be 9D. That is the packet that you got yesterday. And there will be three motions that we'll make during that item, and we'll go with you guys.
Very good.
Also, we had an application, or we had an advertisement for the abandonment of a portion of Banning Road. That application was advertised and noticed. However, the applicant wanted to postpone that to a future meeting. So I just wanted to note for the record that we did advertise that and will be heard at a future meeting.
Very good.
And Mayor, one other addition, I'm sorry, that, if you remember, also adding to, at the end of the manager's comments, the discussion of the issue at the end of Gulf View Road, that the staff would like to commission about.
Yes. So that'll be 94. Discussion on the end of Gulf View Road. Okay, anything else? If not, our next meeting will be September 11th, Friday, however, will be at 4 o'clock, to be followed by our budget meeting at 5:01 p.m. The final budget hearing will be on September 22nd at 5:01 for anyone who wishes to attend. Public comment, anybody wish to speak? Very good, let's move on to our public hearing. This is an application on 555 Pelican Lane. Any ex parte communications by commissioners? Very good. And who will be speaking on Pelican Lane?
Good morning, Mr. Mayor. This is Tom Murphy speaking on behalf of the Martin Brown family. I represent the children of Martin Brown who died a year ago.
Tom?
Yes.
Tom, I'm going to swear you in first, even though you're counsel for the applicant.
would you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, go ahead, John, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. At the risk of being redundant, I represent Eliza, Nina, Susanna, and Martin Brown Jr. These are the 4 children of Martin and Betty Brown. For those of you who don't know Martin Brown and his children, his family has resided in Gulfstream for now 4 generations. When I say I represent Martin Brown and Betty Brown's 4 children, I should also mention that I represent Martin Brown's 9 grandchildren, who are part of the 4th generation. Sally and W.L. Lyons Brown came to our town in the early 40s and purchased Driftwood Landing in its entirety. And in 1971, the matriarch, whom many of us got to know, Sally Brown, sold off some lots. I'd like to introduce Martin Brown Jr., who's representing his fellow siblings and their children, who would like to address the commission with your permission, Mr. Mayor, and just briefly give a sketch of the Brown history in 555 Pelican Lane, which is the subject matter of being here today pursuant to the findings and recommendation of the ARPD. And Martin, if you could go ahead and address the commission.
Let's swear Mr. Brown in first.
Would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God? Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. Our family, as Tom mentioned, has roots in Gulfstream. Our grandparents purchased the half dozen or so acres that comprised Driftwood Landing shortly after World War II. And at the time, there was only 1 residence, where today there are 12. Our grandparents, my grandparents were W.L. Lyons Brown Sr., who was a founder and early president of the Gulfstream Bath and Tennis Club, and Sally Schallenberger Brown, whom I hope some of you knew, who died in 2011 at age 100. They purchased and improved the residence and surrounding land at Driftwood Landing. They planted the royal palms that still line the entry drive at Driftwood Landing, and added tropical gardens and boat slips to the property. The prior owners retained land to the south at 555 Pelican Lane, where they built the second residence that our grandparents acquired after 1951. It passed out of the family hands for several years and came back into the family in 1998 when my parents purchased it. My father, Martin Brown Sr., came to Gulfstream as a boy, where he roamed the beaches and developed a lifelong passion for fishing. He attended the Gulfstream School and later loved to tell stories about his adventures on land and at sea in that era. He continued to visit regularly as a young adult, bringing his wife and his 4 children to stay with his parents. And after his father's death nearly 50 years ago, our father purchased his parents' guest house at number 2 Driftwood Landing. He joined the Bath and Tennis Club and Gulfstream Golf Club, and our father and mother brought their own children and grandchildren to Gulfstream regularly over the following years, where our father loved to teach more than one grandchild how to ride a bike out on Pelican Lane. And our grandparents and parents taught us also an appreciation for the distinctive character of Gulfstream. Its relaxed yet gracious style has always made us feel welcome and has fostered friendships between us and many others. We also have enjoyed having other family members come into the area. Our father's brother and a cousin have purchased properties in Driftwood Landing, and my sisters and I indirectly own 3 other lots there. One of our family values is conservation. My sisters and I learned at early ages the importance of maintaining family properties and reinvesting to protect the craftsmanship involved in these multi-generational houses. Our goal today is to safeguard our waterfront property at 555 Pelican Lane by installing hurricane-proof windows in a way that does not alter the historic character of the house as it has existed for more than 70 years. And I thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
Very good. Tom? Let's just cut to the chase on it, Tom. You're applying for a variance. Let's address, if you would, the nature of the variance and how this application should proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I and my clients will not come before this commission and say to the commission this morning, as we did not say to the ARPB, that there is no code that prohibits the relief that we seek. Briefly stated, there are 26 windows in the residence known as 555 Pelican Lane. 6 of those windows, which are the subject of the variance, face the intracoastal waterway. When Eliza Brown, one of Martin's 3 daughters, was given the task of caring for 555, she realized to her amazement that Martin Brown did not insure the house for wind damage. Since Eliza had been the victim of the total destruction of a home she owned in the Napa Valley in those terrible fires that occurred last year, she realized that this old house was at risk if they didn't take measures to protect it from hurricanes. There were 3 options, basically. Do nothing, which was unacceptable to her and after conversation with her siblings. 2, board it up with plywood, which is a haphazard and unacceptable remedy. It may work, but it's time consuming, it's destructive, and it certainly is unattractive. Or third, they could install some metal fabrications in order to button the windows down. Or fourth, I was wrong, there were only 3. And fourth, they could install hurricane glass. Eliza chose the last. Regrettably, the windows were ordered and fabricated before the installer went to talk to Mr. Dunham and Ms. Taylor, which is the appropriate way to approach any alteration with the town. So the windows were manufactured, and these windows do not comply with 70-101, which is the prohibition based upon square feet of windows, which are required to be mullioned, or using the other term, muntin, which is another way of saying panes of glass, ordinarily 6 up, 6 down. In any event, we provided the ARPB with photographs of the windows as they now look. The windows as they were fabricated, which is 1 divider between top and bottom, and the windows that were altered in terms of the photograph itself by the emplacement of lines which would show the muntins in these windows. Of the 26 windows in question, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, the family is asking for relief for the 6 that face the intracoastal waterway. These are white windows. They are split top and bottom in the middle. These windows cannot be seen by any residents in Driftwood Landing. These windows cannot be seen by any resident along Pelican Lane. These windows cannot be seen by any resident of Gulfstream. The only person who can see these windows is Randy Stoft, who has built is in the process of completing the building of a large home across the intracoastal, which is all glass. We are not suggesting that because it's a 4-generation family with deep and profound roots and relationships in this town. We are saying that this old 1951 house should be able to maintain at least its original character in the 6 windows, which are the living room. In the words of Susanna Brown, she said to the ARPB, this home is the glue that keeps the family together. This is the assembly point during the winter months when everyone converges at the family compound in Gulfstream. We are not asking for relief that would adversely affect the town or in any way infringe upon the architectural beauty of the surrounding residences. The closest person to the house would be a cousin who lives on Pelican Lane. This house is so well screened by vegetation, including beautiful bushes and trees, that truly it's unobtrusive in almost every respect, even from the waterway. So this family, Martin Browns, are not just fly-ins and fly-outs. Susanna, for example, raised her 3 children until they reached school age, at which time she enrolled them in school in Nashville. They are members of our local churches. They are great. They're great supporters of our our charity.
Questions, comments?
If they replaced one window at a time, would it be allowed? We've had something like this before. Rita, do you remember that? If they replace so much of it, it's a variance that if they replace, or no?
No.
Okay. Because there was something else some time ago down there, somewhere. A long time ago. Yeah. Okay. I don't have more questions from what I was remembering.
So what do we have here? We've got, I spent a lot of time on windows in my day. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, a 6-pane awning window, non-impact that we're changing out. And we already ordered, which I've had happen before, I feel everybody's pain. We've already ordered single hung, clear, no button windows that are sitting in a shop. I have that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. That's it here, right?
But they're going to be modified to a certain limited extent.
We're going to modify it by adding some buttons to make it 4/4, but still single hung. I have that right?
Yes. Of the 26 windows, 20 will be modified so that they comply with the city code.
So the other ones not facing intercoastal time are going to be 4/4. They're going to add the buttons at the shop.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we want six that are going to remain at basically 1/1 or no mutton pattern for just the single hung bar in the middle. Got it.
That's correct.
Okay.
Based on which, yes, Paul.
I apologize. I had some technical difficulties setting this up this morning, but I didn't miss any of the presentation. So when it's appropriate, Mayor, I'd like to make some comments. I don't have any questions. So tell me when I should launch.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I have some notes I've written to myself, so I don't just jump all over. So let me read my notes. First, I was challenged by this application primarily because of the age of the house and the fact that the manual, I believe, was drafted subsequent to the house. And anytime I see an application that's identified as a variance, I always go back to the Gulfstream Design Manual. Because I think it's important that we need to maintain the integrity of that design manual and be careful when we consider these applications. So I went to the relevant sections, and let me highlight a couple of sections in the design manual. In the introductory section, defined as purpose, it states that this chapter is intended to serve as a guide for preserving and perpetuating the unique residential character of the town. And then it goes further, it says the design standards, in this chapter are by specific intent illustrative rather than prescriptive. They do not dissect every architectural influence, nor are they attempted to prescribe specific detailed ways to handle every type of alteration to existing structures. They do, however, provide the town with a methodology and common framework. So that's sort of my perspective. So let me tell you where I'm coming out to save some time here, and that is I'm in favor of the application of the proposed windows. And I'd like to summarize the reasons why. And let me start with, I believe this application is consistent with the overall intent of the design manual to preserve and perpetuate the unique residential character of the town. The compound of the Brown family homes have largely remained the same for over 50, 70 years, maybe longer. What's wonderful about that compound is a lot of open space, and we're seeing a lot of open space being consumed by new, bigger homes. I think it's a wonderful example of old, unstated, unique nature of Gulfstream, which, by the way, is the stated purpose of the design manual. We've seen a lot of properties being sold and redeveloped. I want to encourage families to hold on to their properties to preserve some of the old Florida and historical landmarks. As a further footnote, as Mr. Murphy cited, the Brown family over multiple generations have been a very generous support of our community. The second point is I think it's less a remodel and more replacement of existing windows to protect the overall structure of the home. The obvious reason for doing this is insurance requirements. It's more of a mandatory than discretionary change. Replacement of windows with hurricane-proof windows is a better alternative than metal shutters, which would be permitted. Additionally, the proposed windows replace jalousie windows that are actually prohibited in the code today. I know in the past when we've looked at variances that I've been concerned, I think others have, in opening the floodgates in terms of granting, this is a variance, granting a variance. And Trey, as legal counsel, has cited numerous times that each application is judged in its own merit. So I don't think we're putting ourselves in a difficult situation for the future. And the last point is on all applications, I watch the video of the ARPB meetings, or I attend them, to understand their perspective as a recommending body. And while I use my own judgment, it's one of the key data points I consider. And on this application, all members voted in favor of the variance. So I'll conclude that's the reasons why I'm recommending approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Any other comments?
I also went to the design manual and the use of bunting to divide glass into unified sections of 4 square feet or less. With these dividers that they'll be putting in, would they be 4 feet or less per panel or per section? Do you understand what I mean?
Got it. Tom, did you hear that question?
I understand.
Maybe restate it.
Okay. According to the design manual, the use of margins to divide glass into unified sections of 4 feet or less is what the design manual says it should be. So when you're planning to put these dividers to divide your panels, will they be 4 square feet or less for your individual panels now?
Top and bottom will be less. I think the overall square footage is less than 8 feet, but I stand corrected. I don't have that statistic.
Greg, you know the size or agree to the size of these window openings?
They do not have the measurements on them,
It's just a drawing.
sorry?
It's just a drawing, right?
Right, it's highlighter.
Yeah.
It looks like
So it's nice to have the measurements so that we know what we're being asked
It
for.
looks like the top and the bottom are a little bigger than.
I think, yes, sir, I mean, I think that's why it's hard to vary.
Well, it raises the point, we're being asked to grant a variance with some modifications done to the window, but we don't know what the modification is except for a black magic marker on the photograph.
Well, that is,
We have to mention what you're looking to do. We have the dimensions of the panes that you're recommending we approve.
Okay, yes, we, let Rita respond to that.
The windows in question, which would be the 6 windows, now, they, one corner, the windows are 37 inches by 82 inches. And the other corners, the other corner of windows would be 53 inches by 84 inches. And the one divider is placed so that the top pane of glass will be longer than the bottom pane. And it's called a Pro View window. That's what the manufacturer calls it, because of the longer top pane. The buttons that'll be placed in the rest of the windows that are not up for question in this meeting does divide the glass to what is required. But the variance is for the way that the manufacturer has made them with just the one divider. And as I said, one corner of windows, the window is 37 by 82, and the other one is 53 by 82.
Very good.
And we got that from the product,
Right, from the product.
Thank you for that.
I think y'all make very good points. In my opinion, I like to look at the legal requirements for your variance, and I believe that the decision to go with windows is the right decision as opposed to putting just some sort of metal line across it. The preservation of the architectural integrity of this building is important. It is old. It's a classical Gulfstream home, and I think the need for windows is indicated. And as a result, I don't see that it's an exception for your home that you've created. That is, you've created the situation. I don't believe that's the case. And I also don't believe that you're being granted any special privilege because of the town's desire to preserve that building. And you've made efforts to comply with the code as much as is possible in keeping with the architectural design of the home, and to make sure that really the changes being asked for are not visible to the town. So I would support your variance. Is there a motion?
Now, when you see variances, we're reading all the standards.
You just need, for approval, you just need to recommend, or, motion to approve, you don't need to actually lay out any.
We don't have to go through 1 through 8.
No.
That's correct.
Okay, I make a motion to approve a variance from the provisions in section 70-101 to permit the replacement of 6 windows facing the intercoastal waterway that are divided into only 2 panes as opposed to the multi-pane windows for a Gulfstream style dwelling.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Taylor?
Vice Mayor Stanley,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein, Commissioner Lyons,
Yes,
Mayor Morgan,
Yes. Second motion?
Motion to approve a level 3 architectural site plan to replace 6 windows that face the intercoastal waterway that are divided into 2 panes as opposed to multi-pane windows that are usually found in Bermuda style architecture.
Second.
Ms. Taylor?
Vice Mayor Stanley,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein, Commissioner Lyons,
yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to 4225 North County Road. We may need to make a transition here.
I think he's on.
Yes.
Mr. Rizzo?
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, can we swear you in, please?
Yes, sir.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Any ex parte communication by commissioners before we proceed? No, thank you, Mr. Rizzo. Are you going to say something, Don? No. All right, Mr. Rizzo, proceed, please.
Okay, I'm just, can I have control of the, I don't know what those are.
I'm glad we're having some entertainment.
Okay, I've got it. Just, let me get back to the first. Okay, as of our status, last meeting, we were granted approval to demolish probably 50% of the existing structure at 4225 North County Road, and to do additions to create a new home for the Powells. About 2 weeks after our approval, we were notified by our civil engineer that after trying to install 3 septic systems, the site just cannot support a hybrid system or a conventional septic system on the site because of the rock that lays about 2 feet below the surface. So the owners negotiated with the neighbor across on the west side of County Road and the association, and they were able to get an easement through the property across the street to tie into the force main of the association, which lies on the edge of the golf course. During the course of this, there's also a water main being installed on County Road. So the extent of the utilities in County Road were really brought to light, and it's just the road is loaded with utilities, some marked and some unmarked. As you know, there was a problem up there. Some of the electrical was hit. So we were advised by the town, Southern Pipeline is the contractor. He does the work on the private system now. He was advised by the town that we need to be 7 feet under County Road. If you under County Road, you know, it's very, very small, very tight, and our property line literally is it's a shallow site. So for us to be 7 feet underneath County Road, and it's also, they have to bore through rock. They have to literally put the rig into a large portion of the remaining house that we've already had to scheduled to be demolished. I've highlighted, we have to take this much more of the house because the rig has to literally sit kind of right in this area. to be able to get the pitch, because the line is literally over here, to get under County Road. So at that point, it was determined that there's really no advantage for us to save this existing structure. In fact, I'm concerned, I would have to certify the existing structure and the unforeseen foundations that would even remain if we left these portions over here. And with that rig and vibration, I wouldn't be able to certify those foundations because I couldn't see them. So we're asking for total demolition. The key point here is they would build the house exactly the way we were approved to. It wouldn't change. None of the setbacks would change. Actually, we're going to end up with a better product because it'll be all new, brand new code. If you see in this drawing here, the upper right-hand corner, the shaded area is the actual footprint of the existing house. And my next drawing, this was the drawing that was approved at our last meeting. You can see again that shaded area. And our revised drawing shows to show that we're not changing anything. The heavy line is the existing house, and the footprint of the proposed would remain the same. And this is a little illustration. You can see our property line is here. We're probably only 21 feet. So they need to set this rig up here because the angle, they need to be at least, when we hit this property line, not even at the road, we need to be 7 feet below grade to avoid all the existing utilities. Therefore, we ask to amend our application to allow the demolition of the complete structure.
Any questions? No. It certainly makes sense, Mr. Rizzo. I think you will end up with a better product, so I support it. Is there a motion?
Can I ask a couple quick questions?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Couple questions, please. And it's really to town staff. So when you take my question is not intended to be any kind of conclusion. I just want to make certain I had my facts right. When you tear this building down, because it's a totally new building, the applicant needs to comply with all the current code setbacks and so forth, correct?
Correct.
They were approved at the last meeting.
We approved this last month.
Right, Mr. Lyons, this house, which is, will be built exactly how it was approved last month by the commission. So that's why that's not part of this item.
This is a very unusual home, which we had a lengthy presentation last month, discussed it at length, and approved the final design. Since the design is going to be maintained, and in fact with a stronger and newer foundation and walls, it would make sense to me.
And remember, Mr. Lyons, that it met the special exceptions. I believe there were about 3 special exceptions that it had to meet as part of our code that addresses these small lots. And so it met all of the special exceptions.
Okay, I mean, again, my question was not intended as a no. I just want to know from a technical standpoint. But I agree with the mayor's point of view that we approved it in the last meeting after a lot of discussion. I was in favor of it. And so the end result's going to be the same. So,
Correct. I mean,
again, it was only a question.
If they had not already had this approval and came in today asking for this house, I mean, they would still need all of those special exceptions as it was presented to us.
Okay. Is that satisfactory, Paul? You good with that?
Oh, no, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. I'm sorry, we've got a very busy agenda today, so we're trying to move things along.
I'll make a motion to have a demolition permit for the demolition of existing single-story house at 4225 North County Road.
Second.
Let's do it.
Vice Mayor Stanley,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwine,
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons,
Yes?
Mayor Morgan.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Rizzo.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank
Okay, let's move on.
I like it.
We've got a presentation today, long in the making, by Baxter Wood.
Jackie, do you have it loaded onto the laptop? Rebecca, I believe it's already loaded onto the laptop. Rebecca?
Okay, I'm here. I wasn't sure if you meant me or the other Rebecca.
No, I'm sorry, this is loaded onto the computer, correct? Their presentation?
Their presentation, yes, I have it right here. Hold on one second. Here's this. And then I will change. And there you go. Okay, so the panelists should be able to control the slides at this point. So if you need to go back and forth, you're set.
That's the wrong one.
The wastewater.
Well, this
the
is the one that
feasibility
Rebecca
study?
sent me. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. It should be the one that I think Sarah Fox sent you, the feasibility study.
All right, hold on one second.
I can't wait to finish this for a full meeting.
We do have handouts too, if you.
We've got.
Oh, you have the handout? Okay.
Frankly, if you want to proceed, does Paul have a copy of this? See if we get those?
Yeah, exactly.
It went on the website with the agenda.
Okay, good. I'll let you step away. Well, why don't you proceed?
You want to go ahead? Okay. All right. Thank you very much for having us here today. As you all mentioned, we are Baxter and Woodman. My name is Jockey Purnyagunwakul. I'm the project manager. I have with us Lauren Arrington, our intern, Sarah Fox, our young engineer, and our leader here, Rebecca Travis. And we'll get started. All right, a little background. In 2002, the Town Commission, Baxter and Woodman, to develop the wastewater feasibility study. In 2019, the town requested that we update that study. The majority of the town town service area is not sewered. The majority of the town is using privately owned on-site wastewater treatment systems, or OWTSs.
I'm sorry to interrupt. It
Oh.
looks like it's now
You want me?
uploaded.
All right. How do I control? Oh,
There you go.
okay. Here we go. All right. So the purpose here is that there are growing concerns with the environmental impacts of OWTSs, specifically on the Florida Intercoastal Waterway and the coast of the Atlantic Ocean. The town is being proactive in finding solutions to eliminate the use of on-site OWTSs in the future. The study provides an analysis of the following to assist the town in determining a solution for centralized wastewater collection. The evaluation of service area and wastewater flows based on latest zoning codes, evaluation of feasibility of the adjacent utility providers to accept flows from the town. These are City of Boynton Beach and the City of Delray Beach. And the evaluation of 3 centralized wastewater collection system options, which are gravity, low pressure, and vacuum. All right, wastewater flows, we reviewed the 2012 comprehensive plan zoning and maximum allowable densities. Single families are 2.64 dwelling units per acre. Single family, Place au Soleil is slightly higher at 2.9 dwelling units per acre, and the multifamily is 5.7 dwelling units per acre. We divided the town into 5 separate wastewater collection sub areas. Sub-area A is south of Gulfstream Country Club, east of North Ocean Boulevard. Sub-area B is north of Gulfstream Country Club, and then east of North Ocean Boulevard. Sub-area C is south of Gulfstream Country Club, west of North Ocean Boulevard. And sub-area D is north of Gulfstream Country Club, west of Ocean Boulevard. And then finally, sub-area E, which is Plaza Way. So here we have a map identifying the divisions of the sub-areas of the town. Wastewater flows, we use the 2012 comprehensive plan where 2.11 persons per unit were identified, where each person would basically generate 160 gallons per day of flow. Using Penn State standards, we have a peaking factor of 3.86, and then we have the flow rates per sub-area listed here. Wastewater connections, two possible connections like I mentioned. To the north, we have the city of Boynton Beach, and then to the south, we have the Delray Beach. City of Boynton Beach, there exists a 10-inch force main connection northeast corner of the town, capable of accepting flows from sub-areas A, B, C, and D. So basically, that's all of Gulfstream proper. Then we have the city of Boynton Beach. In order to accept these flows, we have upgrades to the pumps and the electrical components. That's lift station 102. And then we have to extend a 10-inch force main along Swinton and 23rd Avenue, approximately 1,900 linear feet.
Where's the station?
Right here, you can see it in this map here. So if you go to, at the bottom right-hand corner, that is the very northwest corner of the town. That's along Little Club Road.
Right.
So on the north side of Little Club Road, you have the condominiums. So at the very far west end is the city of Boynton Beach's lift station 102. Okay. So again, you can see there's a 10-inch force main that crosses the intercoastal waterway. You can see that in green. And then it travels north and then to the west until we get to, sorry, didn't know it was a touch screen. Until we get to Swinton. Seacrest, I'm sorry. Until we get to Seacrest. And then you can see in red is the extension of that force main. All right, so continuing with the connections, we have the city of Delray Beach. So existing gravity sewer connections are located 100 feet south of Pelican Lane and North Ocean Boulevard. There's one 70 feet south of Pelican Lane and Andrews Avenue. And then the third one is 400 feet south of the entrance to Plaza Soleil. Capable of accepting flows from sub-areas A and C and E. City of Delray Beach required improvements to accept these flows include upgrades to pumps and electrical components at lift station 10, upgrades to pumps and electrical components at lift station 10A, replacement of lift station 19, upgrades to pumps and electrical components at lift station 18, and upgrades to pumps and electrical components at master lift station 100A. This map here shows you where those items are located. So if you look at the center, the bottom center, you'll see two dots in yellow. So that's the south end of the town of Gulfstream, so Gulfstream proper. So those are two tie-in points that will flow towards the first lift station you see there, lift station 19. That lift station then pumps to lift station 18, which then pumps to lift station 100A, which is a master lift station. From 100A, it continues on to the wastewater treatment plant. So that is basically handling all of your southern end of your town. And then at Plaza Soleil, we have our connection point there on the far right side of the screen. And that discharges to a gravity sewer system, which ultimately discharges to lift station 10, which pumps to lift station 10A, and then that ultimately gets to the wastewater treatment plant. So you can see there's a significant amount of improvements required to go to the city of Delray Beach. Okay. Wastewater flows, 2 flow alternatives considered. Alternative 1 was the city of Boynton Beach, subareas A, B, C, and D. So basically, we're taking all of the flows from the town of Gulfstream proper to Boynton Beach, okay? And then sub-area E going to the city of Delray Beach. Sub-area E will always have to go to the Delray Beach since their connection is right there, all right? Alternative 2 is splitting the system where city of Boynton Beach would get sub-areas B and D, so that's the north end of the town. And then city of Delray Beach would accept A, C, the south end of town, and of course E.
How are those costs handled with the necessary requirements for either town to accept our sewer?
Well, the cost for the improvements would most likely be bared by the town to accept, unless, you know, they have plans to do improvements to those stations already. There might be a cost sharing that can happen.
And is that included in your estimated pricing?
We included the total cost. So worst case scenario. Okay. Wastewater collection system. So like I mentioned earlier, we looked at 3 different options for wastewater collection: gravity, low pressure, and vacuum. All right, gravity. Oh. All right, gravity sewer systems. These are the most common wastewater collection systems. Wastewater from properties discharged to a sewer lateral. The sewer lateral connects to a sewer main. The sewer main connects to sanitary sewer manholes, which are typically placed at a maximum of 400 feet. Sewer mains ultimately discharge into a lift station, and then the lift station will convey the sewage to the wastewater treatment plant. Preliminary layout, alternative number 1, sub-areas A and C collect into multiple lift stations and ultimately into a master lift station A. Master lift station A discharges to the gravity sewer system at sub-area B. Lift station in sub-area B and D discharges to the existing lift station, which is right here adjacent to the town. And then that lift station would need to be upgraded, and that discharges to the city of Boynton Beach. Sub-area E, of course, goes to Delray Beach. So here you can see the preliminary layout of the sewer system. We're just showing you basically the lift stations and the force mains and how they are arranged. Okay, alternative 2, lift stations in sub-areas A and C collect and discharge into an adjacent gravity sewer connection on North Ocean and Andrews Avenue to the city of Delray Beach. Again, that's going to the south. Lift stations in sub-areas B and D discharge into the existing upgraded lift station. The existing upgraded lift station discharges to the city of Boynton Beach. So the only difference, again, is that we're separating the flows going to each side. Going to Boynton Beach and going to Delray Beach. Okay. Again, here you can see on this map, there's no pipe. We do not show a pipe that's interconnecting the two ends, the north and south end. So preliminary layout information here, we have approximately 3,400 linear feet of gravity sewer mains, approximately 122 sanitary sewer manholes, 10 lift stations, each lift station requiring property for construction outside of the right-of-way. Upgrade to the existing lift station here, approximately 1,300 linear feet of force main, depth of gravity sewer mains to be up to 18 feet below grade. Depth of the lift stations could be up to 26 feet below grade. Reconstruction of all impacted roads. Preliminary geotech information of the town indicates significant layer of coquina adjacent to North Ocean Boulevard. And then preliminary geotech information of the town indicates significant layer of organics further to the west of A1A, North Ocean Boulevard. And then obviously we have the high water tables within the town off of North Ocean Boulevard. Gravity sewer operation and maintenance. Gravity sewer systems require periodic inspections. They require cleaning. Sewer manholes require recoating. Force main control valves and air release valves require exercising and maintenance. And then you have your 10 lift stations, which will require periodic pump replacement, wet well rehabilitation, check valve, control valve maintenance, etc. So there's quite a bit of work that goes on with gravity sewer systems. So next we have low pressure systems. Wastewater from properties discharged through a sewer lateral into a privately owned grinder pump basin. The grinder pump basin discharges into a common low pressure force main. The low pressure force main connects to a gravity sewer or a lift station, and then the gravity sewer or lift station ultimately conveys the wastewater to the wastewater treatment plant. So this is something that is already in place here in the town, in the core district. The majority of the core district is on a low pressure system. Okay, preliminary layout, similar to the gravity sewer, where A and C collect to a master lift station. The master lift station then discharges over to sub-areas B and D, which B and D discharge into an existing upgraded lift station. So they're all collecting into that existing lift station right here. The existing lift station would be upgraded, and then that discharges to the city of Boynton Beach. Okay. Sub-area E is typical. So again, here is a schematic of the system. You can see the master lift station for sub-area A on the left-hand side. So that would collect all of your low-pressure sewage, and then that would pump over to the existing lift station here next to the town. And then that lift station ultimately discharges. Okay?
So it's almost like a septic tank, except it's not draining down. It's being pumped out. You still have this computer device buried in the ground that is privately owned and maintained.
Correct.
Correct?
Correct. Yeah, you have a vault that collects the sewage. Once it reaches a certain level, the pump inside that tank turns on and pumps it off of your site.
Right.
So you no longer have to maintain a septic system. Yeah, the drain field.
They're buried down how deep?
It depends, but you'll see the cover at grade, and then they go down, maybe 5 to 10 feet below.
Yeah, ours are roughly 5. And if you have a big house, you've got to do grinder tank.
Okay. I had one at my previous house, and had all sorts of work being done on it all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Similar to the septic that I now have.
Right.
It struck me as being fairly similar, except you're not draining down into through the water table, but rather pumping it away.
Yeah, environmentally, obviously, it's a better solution where we're pumping it away versus letting it settle into our soils.
All right, I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem. Okay, alternative 2, again, A and C collect and discharge into an adjacent gravity sewer collection on North Ocean Boulevard. So the difference here, there's no need for a master lift station. The gravity system is right here, so the low pressure systems can all connect and discharge into the gravity sewer at the city of Delray Beach. Sub areas B and D will discharge into the lift station here, which is upgraded to accept all the flows. Currently, it's only accepting flows from the majority of E right now. So once we add the flows from B, there's probably going to be need to upgrade pumps and whatnot. And then E is the same thing for a Pothos away. Again, here is another figure to show the arrangement. So preliminary layout, approximately 3,500 linear feet of low pressure mains, approximately number of grinder pump stations. So with the town currently, with the core district already taken care of, it'll be 251 additional grinder pump stations. If you were to replace the core districts, it's about 350 total. There's one lift station for alternative 1, which is that master lift station A on the south end. We need to upgrade the existing lift station here for both alternatives. Approximately linear feet of force main for alternative 1 is about 10,000 linear feet. So basically we're, flowing we're lifting the sewage from the south end to the north end. Otherwise, alternative 2 is about 2,000 linear feet of force main. Depth of low pressure mains can be maintained at approximately 3 feet below grade, reducing the need to dewater and excavate in coquina. So it's much easier to install, cheaper to install. Restoration of roadways is reduced significantly compared to gravity sewer mains. So again, because it's much shallower, you don't have a real expansive trench going down the middle of your road that will require full reconstruction. Yes.
I mean, even the low pressure system would be under a roadway, or can it go into the right of way?
It could either be in the roadway or on the shoulder, depending on what room is available.
Right.
Okay.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
So why would you replace approximately 100 of the existing D1s? Or I'm not sure why you say 251 versus 350.
We're just giving you a number. We're not saying to replace them at all.
Oh,
Just
so
letting you know.
there's no need to replace them.
Correct. I mean, they're privately owned, so it's up to the owner. The whole point, the key issue with advantage of low pressure systems, to the town at least, is that the pumps are privately owned and maintained. So the town does not need to, deal with the systems themselves. The town is dealing with the main and then with the lift stations. So the grinder stations at each individual resident is owned by, is privately owned.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Greg, what are we running on those? We're about 6,500 change out now. The last bill that I think that sounds about right. I think that's about right.
Yeah, I'd have to find out. I mean, we've had a lot of new ones put in recently, but I'd have to find out that.
Okay. Operation and maintenance, like I mentioned, there are some control valves in the low pressure main which would need to be exercised and maintained. We have 2 lift stations, possibly 2 lift stations for option B, or option 2. If we were to combine the flows, if we keep the flows separate, you only need to upgrade 1 lift station. So there's pump replacement, wet well rehab, and check valves, control valves, things like that with the lift station. And then again, the grinder pump basins are the responsibility of the property owner. So that takes a lot of the burden off of the town.
How large is the lift station?
The lift stations, what's that?
You have 1 expanded 1 or 2?
Well, 2 because they're in separate locations. So you'll have 1 on the south end to collect all of the low pressure sewer from there, and then that would pump over to this location here where you have a lift station right here already.
And how large is that? Where would it be placed?
Right now we show it somewhere on the property at the southeast corner of the property of the country club. About a 20 by 20 space that you would need, at minimum, to give you enough room to work, perform maintenance.
Okay.
All right.
Is that lift station over there that you're talking about, is it, in appearance, is it similar to the one that's out here?
Correct. Yeah. If you go outside, that's your standard.
There's one back here behind town hall and then one.
Okay. All right, vacuum sewer systems. Okay, wastewater from properties discharged into a sewer lateral and then into a valve pit. So similar again to the low pressure system where it collects in a container, it would do the same thing here for a gravity sewer system. When the valve pit reaches a particular level, a solenoid opens the valve and wastewater is vacuumed into the vacuum sewer main. The vacuum sewer main transfers the wastewater to the vacuum pump station and into a collection tank. Once the collection tank is filled, a pump transfers the wastewater into a force main and ultimately conveys the wastewater to the wastewater treatment plant. So you can see here in the photo is a typical vacuum pump station. It's basically a home. So imagine a 2,000 square foot home with a basement, okay? So this is, this is significant, okay? You could decorate it up, make it look nice. All right, so.
Either that or a pickleball court.
And also to note the valve pits, and instead of having individual valve pits for every single resident, typically one valve pit can handle up to about 4 homes. Okay, so it's one valve pit versus, hundreds throughout the town. But again, you need to find where you're going to put this valve pit. No one's going to want it in front of their home, so I'm sure there'll be a little bit of a battle there. Okay. Preliminary layout, again, sub areas A and C collect into a south vacuum pump station. The south vacuum pump station discharges through a force main that connects to the force main from the north vacuum pump station. Sub areas B and D are collected into the north vacuum pump station. The north vacuum pump station and south vacuum pump stations connect to a common force main. The common force main discharges to the City of Boynton Beach's 10-inch force main, and then E does the same thing. That it has its own vacuum pump station and goes to City of Delray Beach. So you can see here on the next figure our layout. So we're proposing, again, on the south end, we're proposing that that vacuum station somewhere on the country club, possibly. On the north end, we're looking at the layout area here. There's a good amount of space back there. We could possibly put this vacuum pump station. And then again, it discharges to the town or to the City of Boynton Beach. All right, alternative 2, A and C collect in the south vacuum pump station, but instead of transferring it to the north, we go to the south to that gravity sewer manhole. B and D are collected in the north pump station and continues on to the 10-inch force main for the City of Boynton Beach. Sub-area E continues to difference here is the direction of where all right, preliminary layout, approximately 36,600 linear feet of low pressure main, approximately 178 valve pits based on 4 dwelling units per valve pit. Linear feet of force main, about 12,500 for alternative 1, 4,600 for alternative 2. Depth of vacuum sewer main can be maintained at approximately 3 to 5 feet below grade, reducing the need to dewater and excavate into coquina. So again, it's similar to the low pressure system. Restoration of roadways is significantly reduced, again, similar to low pressure. However, the design and construction of vacuum sewer mains requires precision. There is a zigzag profile to maintain. This is necessary for the system to function. Leaks in the system will reduce the system's ability to function. So you can have a leak in a low pressure system or a typical force main, and your pumps will still operate. You'll still be able to pump your sewage out as necessary. Obviously, there's a leak, so it needs to be fixed, but it wouldn't leave, overflowing happening at your station. Whereas with a vacuum system, if you have a leak in your vacuum system, its ability to suck the sewage out of that station is greatly reduced. So now you do have the possibility of having issues where you have overrun spillage, okay? Properties required to locate vacuum pump stations that can be approximately 2,000 square feet in size. So your typical home, 2,000 square feet, property for that home is probably a quarter acre. So that's what, you know, you're looking at, right? Operation and maintenance, vacuum sewer valve pits require periodic equipment replacement, force main, control valves, air release valves, things of that nature need to be operated, maintained, replaced every periodically. The vacuum pump station maintenance, we're looking at 2, and actually there should be 3 because of Las Plus Soleil. So it should be 3 there. So you have your vacuum pump replacements that occur periodically. You have your discharge pumps that need to be replaced periodically. You have the maintenance of the containment tank, HVAC maintenance for the building, roof maintenance for the building, interior, exterior building coatings maintenance, and you have grounds maintenance. So there's quite a bit of, you know, upkeep that comes with vacuum sewer systems. So here we have the cost estimate. These are the construction cost estimates in 2020 dollars. Gravity sewer system, it looks like it's the same here for alternative 1 and alternative 2, but that's rounded. It's very similar. So the only difference being the force main that connects the south and north end. So alternative 1 is actually a little bit cheaper, but in the end, they're relatively the same. Low pressure system, alternative 2 is the lowest cost system. Again, alternative 2 is the lowest cost. We are going to the city of Delray Beach. The difference here is mainly the cost for the lift station, at master lift station on the south end. So that's what you're seeing, the difference why alternative 1 is a little bit more expensive. See, that's $300,000, right? And then vacuum sewer systems are second cost effective here at $14.5 to $15.3 million for initial cost.
Question?
Sure.
So when you're looking at these costs, you're looking at it from the perspective of the town, I assume.
Correct.
Therefore, it doesn't include the cost of the resident to install the grinder, which I believe, I'm guessing, but I think it's like $30,000 or $40,000 somebody mentioned to me. I don't know whether that's right or wrong. But that number is not included in your low pressure numbers, correct?
Correct. The cost for, you know, putting in the grinders are not included, correct. And we're also not including the cost for residents to abandon their systems either. So, and connection cost. So anything on the, you know, on the resident end is not included. This is just town cost.
Yeah, so I guess what would the number be for the low pressure system if you included the grinders?
No, 30 or 40,000 is a little bit high for installation of a grinder. I think grinder is roughly about 10,000, I would estimate.
Well, in any case, at some point, I think we need to do an analysis of what is the total cost, not just to the town, but because the town is the residents, or the residents of the town, in my opinion. Sure. So that's just
sure.
Thank you.
And I think I think we had a number of about $5 million if the town were to purchase and install the, I think 250 odd grinder stations, it'd be an additional $5 million. So yes, so now you're bringing that cost up, which matches a little bit closer to the vacuum sewer system.
Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you.
No problem.
The cost for the low pressure, I'm a little confused because we have one, and so this would be to replace it all, and
correct. We're going to replace the mains.
Okay.
So we're not replacing the actual stations, just the mains that.
I understand everyone owns their own grinders, so.
Correct.
right now, so you're just replacing the pump station.
We're replacing all the piping.
All the piping.
Correct.
How old is the piping there already?
I believe the system was installed around 1980s, right? I think, I think the record drawings that we have were.
Some of the piping is newer than that though, because when the golf club added in, some of the piping, the original part, you're right,
Okay.
but then it's been added to
So
over
about
the
20
years.
years old. Part of this run down this way.
Right.
Golf use and stuff on the golf club property, that was like 2016, 2015.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I was,
Okay.
it's only 5 or,
That was along the run
yeah.
going down Polo, up the golf use. This part of here to, probably Lakeview is really old.
Yeah, that's correct. But some of it's newer.
Okay, yeah, to give a kind of an apples to apples comparison, we assumed, we're going to go ahead and replace all of the main. So we're
Consistent.
correct. Okay. Operation and maintenance costs we considered. So we have your yearly maintenance costs for each system. We have lift station and vacuum station maintenance costs, power consumption, and then a total annual cost. You can see again, gravity sewer systems are a little bit higher. They're the highest, with vacuum systems coming in second, and then the low pressure systems coming in third. Renewal and replacement costs, we also considered for a 30-year life cycle. So we have 10-year adjusted, 15-year adjusted, 20-year, and then 30-year. So the total for the gravity sewer system, again, is the most expensive, with vacuum sewer coming second and low pressure sewer coming third. 30-year present work cost. So for all three systems, you have, again, gravity sewer coming up at the highest at $22.5 million, where the vacuum system is second at $15.5 to $16.3 million, and the low pressure sewer systems at $11.7 to $11.2 million. And again, we'll reiterate that that's not including the cost for the grinder stations for the low pressure system. Recommendation, low pressure sewer system, alternative number 2. Obviously, it's the most financial. It's the cheapest cost to the town, most economical based on the 30-year life cycle. It requires the least amount of maintenance by the town, since grinder pump basins are privately owned and operated. Low pressure mains are constructed in shallow excavations, which minimize the installation and restoration costs. Only one additional lift station is proposed. And then there's the existing lift station, which would be upgraded. Connection between the southern and northern portions of the town is not necessary, since the flows would be sent to both the city of Delray Beach and the city of Boynton Beach. However, one thing that I want to point out for alternative 1, if we're sending all of the flows to Boynton Beach, we're not dealing with the coordination, having to schedule the construction for the other lift stations for the city of Delray Beach. The 3 lift stations that we would need to upgrade in order to split the system. So even though alternative 2 is slightly cheaper, because we're not having that extra lift station, it's still, maybe the hassle of doing that coordination is better off, and we spend a little bit extra money and just send everything to the city of Boynton Beach. Okay. And that's it. Questions?
Well, thank you very much. It's a very thorough analysis, exactly what we wanted. I appreciate your insight and cost analysis. Any questions? Been waiting for a while, but extremely thorough.
Thank you.
Disturbingly expensive.
Very good then. I mean, thank you.
Thank you.
I guess I have one quick question, and we're not going to address, I don't think today, exactly the timing, but as it relates to the CIP program, is this something that can be integrated easily into it, or is that, in other words, is it from a logistics perspective, would you recommend that we incorporate this into the other improvements we're making in the town over the next 10, 12 years? From a construction.
You can definitely include it with your roadway reconstruction. Obviously, when you put in these mains, whether it's, you know, one of the three options, it's possible you're going to tear up the road anyway. So if you're going to do it, you know, might as well do it at one time. Same thing with your water main replacement. So, you know, you have your asbestos cement pipe out there. So, you know, if you could combine and do sections of the town at a time, so it's all restored at one time versus, you know, maybe doing patches here and there. You know, there's several ways you can phase the construction work.
Thank you.
I have one more question. How much longer do we have on the lift station if it's privately owned? So if it's privately owned, they'll just absorb the cost and split between the people who are using it now, is that correct?
That, I believe that's how it's done now with HOA.
With the cost sharing agreement, it's like 60-40 between the local club and the GSIAA on maintenance and replacement.
Okay, so who's in charge of overseeing the little club and who's ever in charge of this to oversee replacement when it needs to be done?
It's governed by the Gulfstream Homeowners Improvement Association. There is a 57-page agreement regarding the maintenance of the station on the golf course right here.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Great. Hold on to this. All right, let's move on to the town manager's report. Up until the underground.
Okay, the utility undergrounding, Rebecca did Comcast cable. I'm sorry, we're gonna be doing a piggyback contract. Remember we moved that?
Yes, yeah, I have that underneath it. Oh, okay. That's part of it, but,
Okay, so, this is what we moved up this morning, and what this is there's actually three things that the town commission will need to approve here. And this is all related to the minor roadway and drainage improvements that we're going to be making out here in the core. And so they include a public works construction services agreement Craig, can you kind of explain that, the difference between that and then the contract?
Sure, so we have a general public works contractor we're piggybacking off of the Village of Wellington, the foster main contractors who are doing the A1A water main work. So we're piggybacking that contract, and then that contract allows us to execute purchase orders for specific work. So we have our first contract, then we have our purchase order for the minor road and drainage repairs we've been waiting to get approved. So those are the first two approvals that we need, and then there's also a construction management services agreement with Baxter and Women to oversee that work. Those are the three items that we need action for this particular agenda item.
Right, and so, and in the packet that we sent out to you yesterday, it includes those various documents. As you can see, the first one would be the Public Works Construction Services Agreement document. I'm sure you have that in front of you.
the foster line.
And what we also included in here was the Wellington contract, correct?
Right. On which we'll be piggybacking.
That's correct. The unit prices. And then the next document, which looks like this, is the base bid from Boston Marine. The colorful document here. as you can see, the price on that is $330,641. Rebecca, can you come on to the screen?
Hi, everybody. So Greg wanted me to go over right quick where we stood with our budgeted for capital expenditures versus all of these capital improvement projects that we've taken under, including the A1A water main project. So for this fiscal year, between the general fund and the water fund, we allocated $3,095,693. As you know, the Foster Marine A1A water main construction bid came in at $1.9 million. And then the Baxter Woodman project management fee for that project was $123,433. So we've also that gave us a surplus of about $1 million to kind of work with for these additional improvement projects that we're considering. So with the Foster Marine core drainage project, which we're about to see, and the Baxter Woodman fee that's also added into that, plus the wastewater study, that if you take that all out of that surplus that we had left over between the bid for Foster Marine and the project management for Baxter Woodman for A1A, it leaves us with a budget surplus of $633,306. So we're in a really good position right now, even though we've got this COVID stuff that's sort of impacting some of our revenues. We still have a very nice buffer to be able to comfortably take on these other capital improvement projects. There's my
And if you remember, we adjusted the budget a couple of months ago to a total of about $315,000 for this work back here. And so this bid, in that $330,000, it includes $25,000 of contingency funds that won't be used unless we need them. And so in fact, I mean, the bid was around $305,000, and with the $25,000 of contingency money. And as you know, I mean, we're going to be working in our neighborhood here, and so it's going to be impacting to some degree some of the brick pavers and that sort of thing. So we need some contingency money if something we need to address regarding that.
What's the nature of the alternate bid?
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is Baxter Woodman. This could take us up while I'm talking. Everyone in here. So one of the alternate bids, oleander, we had talked a couple of times months ago, I believe. There's some issues on oleander with some ponding. So we've added in the minor drainage base contract to do some swale work. But Greg Dunham also asked if we could look at possibly putting in just a drainage inlet that is just a drained well. It doesn't have piping coming in or out of it. It just
Almost like a French drain.
percolates the standing water into the ground. So we asked Foster Marine for a price on that. They came back with a price that in their description isn't really what we asked for. So in the interest of trying to get this before you today, I suggested that we'll go back and talk with Foster Marine about that, and then if necessary, take it out of that $25,000 contingency. But I think it's going to be about $3,000 drainage inlet. That's the first alternative on there. Then the second one is curbing. And we've been back and forth on where we really want to put curbing, raised curbing, as opposed to just a widening. And we had it down to about 55 linear feet of curbing. I'm not familiar with the residents at.
Yeah, it's the intersection at it's not like you, I guess it's at Polo and,
Middle
Middle.
Road, isn't it?
Well, there was one there, they came in and talked to us, but, so let me just take a step back, and we were originally looking at about maybe 5 places to put additional curbing. But when we go back there, and Rebecca and I, have been in the golf carts many times going back in and looking at this. And in my opinion, and I think Rebecca probably agrees with me, is a lot of these places where we thought a curb would help, you gotta remember, we're adding some asphalt to, the adjoining roads. And so by adding asphalt to, up there on Middle Road, it's gonna add to the turning radius, the ability for people to turn without driving off, into the grass. And so I think, and a good example of that is down here at Old School Road and Gulf Stream Road, the intersection there. We'll see Old School, remember we added some pavement to Old School. It came around in turning radius onto Gulf Stream Road. And so those are good examples where we don't get a lot of ruts there because it's wider. And so I think that we can, with the application of extra asphalt at these intersections, I think we can eliminate the curve.
But the alternate line item price of 55, I think, dollars a linear foot allows us, we can go back to them and say, maybe we do want to put some curb here, there, in a different place.
Yeah, I mean,
so we have a price for it in the alternate.
How would you make that decision now, without seeing first whether the expanded roadway addresses the problem?
Well, I mean, it's,
Right now, we're assuming that expanded road.
yeah, I mean,
Address it and it's cheaper.
And a lot of that is based on the experience that these intersections have. I mean, the best example is the one that was by Mr. Graziano's house. I mean, we would, on the hour, try to repair that one. I mean, so that one absolutely needed it. And I think there was more traffic on that because GPS systems were sending trucks down that road. And so that's why we put the curbing in there. These other intersections, I don't think are impacted nearly as much as that one, simply because that's where all of these contractors were directed to go. So to answer your question is, you look at the experience factor of running on these turning radiuses, and the others weren't nearly as often as the one by Mr. Graziano's house. So by looking at that, using that experience, and then looking at the road, knowing that the turning radius is going to be expanded, I think that will help.
That'd be great. I mean, fewer curbs are better.
Yeah, I think they look better not having the curve.
Right. Well, I mean, and here's what if we see, after this is done, historically, if there's still an intersection that needs that done, I mean, we can always put curb in it. Right. We did it once, we can do it again.
That sounds good.
With Rebecca Thu's kind of summary of our funding for all of this, I would like to thank Rebecca Travis and our staff. You remember last month we said, look, this came in, this is way too high. That's why we pulled that. So we have literally been sharpening the pencils up until this week. And so there's been a lot of work getting this contract where it needs to be. And part of that was just a good understanding of what the scope of work was. I think there might have been a misunderstanding of that first proposal.
Well, I agree. There's been a lot of work by staff and Baxter with them. I really appreciate you getting it done. I'd say to the 90% level. Because we want to get this going sooner rather than later. And I think it's a great idea to have Baxter Woodman involved in the oversight of this project. I think it'll move faster and be done.
I mean, it's been, we've had to have it on our water main project. It's been a big help to us. Or else I'd be out there every day and I wouldn't know exactly what I was looking at in some cases, so.
Any other questions? If not, we have a motion to approve the Public Works Construction Services agreement. I believe that's the one with Foster Marine.
Motion to approve.
Mrs. Taylor?
Vice Mayor Stanley,
Yes.
Commissioner White, Commissioner Orthwein, Commissioner Lyons,
Yes,
Mayor Morgan.
Yes. And I guess we also need a motion to approve a piggybacking of construction pricing contract with,
It's just approving the purchase order for the minor drainage and road inspection. We just approved the piggyback. Now we're.
I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's the purchase order with Foster Marine.
Motion to approve the purchase order with Foster Marine as presented.
Okay.
Ms. Taylor?
Vice Mayor Stanley,
Yes.
Commissioner White, Commissioner Orthwein,
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons,
yes,
Mayor Morgan.
Yes. And finally, Mr. Nazaro, how should we?
Motion to approve the construction management services agreement with Baxter Woodman.
Okay, motion to approve the construction management services agreement with Baxter Woodman as presented.
Okay.
Ms. Taylor?
Vice Mayor Stanley,
Yes.
Commissioner White, Commissioner Orthwein,
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons,
yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes. Thank you very much.
And if I could just add one thing there, I won't very long. Exactly when they would be able to start this, we're not sure yet, but the reason we're, using Foster Marine is that they're already out here. And they're gonna be doing asphalt work on A1A here very soon. I do believe the duration of this, it is built into the construction management services, contract is, for the project to take about 6 years.
Great, good. Okay, can we go back, just for our summary on our undergrounding?
Yes, Rebecca, too, did the Comcast cable call in?
Comcast Cable, their representatives were with us, but they have left the meeting. So I don't have someone from Comcast at this time.
Okay, so they were going to explain what they still had left to do, and that, again, I think I mentioned this last month, is, hook up the individual houses. I did have a conversation with them, and that's why I wanted them on the phone, because they were considering a way to do this such that they would not have to go into the houses, but rather get it onto the outside of the house and then give the individual a kit. And I'm not sure how well that's going to
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
I'm not really.
We need them here to make that presentation.
Well, I know, that's why, we actually were gonna have 2 people, I guess we took too long, they couldn't wait on us, but.
So we've been talking about this for at least a month, maybe 2,
Yeah.
where it's that Comcast is just connecting the houses and.
Right,
Everyone.
and so I
Getting back to it.
and so I asked the question, how do you do news service? Because I do know we had a new resident that moved into a house that had existing Comcast, which, had everything up to the house. And I know that Comcast went inside the house and did all the connections. So I posed that question to them, and they had to get back to me on that.
Why don't we set up a meeting, with, you and me?
Yeah, well, and
Get that set up maybe next week.
the 2 people that we're gonna be on today can get.
Yeah, let's do that. Right. Okay, good.
Okay, the A1A water main project, you can see, County Road, they've moved, off of County Road to Little Club, and I think they'll probably be done with Little Club Road either by today or early next week. and then they'll move on to A1A. I'll say this about them, we're on schedule. We had construction, our monthly construction meeting this week, and they're still projected to be substantially complete by October 21st, and that's the same date that we've had since the beginning. And so they are definitely on schedule, and so it's nice to have a project that's on schedule and being done by our budget numbers.
And I must say, a lot of that is due to town manager and staff staying on top of them, being out with them all the time, as well as Baxter Woodman, also providing motivator to them. Okay.
And then all I need to say about Place Off the Way is the street lighting is in. We do have one pole that they can't get the light to work, so we're working on it.
Not, report that people are pleased with, you know, the checks and,
Yeah, I've gotten good responses from them. The other item that I wanted to add to this was an issue at the end of Gulfstream Road. Gulf View Road. And as you know, it's a public road that dead ends into the intercoastal basically. But there's a guardrail there. There are, there's reflective signage, the red signage like stop signs, and then there's extensive landscaping that has been planted actually by the homeowner right there in the house next to it. And so the issue that we're having is we have cars that are pulling up there and parking, and the people get out and they hop over the guardrail and through the landscaping and fish off the bank there. The problem with that is it's not constructed to have safe fishing off that beach area. I mean, there's huge boulders and rocks there, and so it's very easy for somebody to trip and fall, and they're going to bust open their head. And so we would like to our codes allow the police chief to designate no parking areas anywhere in the town. And but we were considering and wanted to discuss with you, and you can just think about this, is making that an area that people cannot go into. We recognize that it's a public area, but I think case law is allowed towns and cities to.
We could enact an ordinance with some sort of a fine for trespassing, designating that as a dangerous area, something like that. Whether or not that's something the commission wants to do, I believe we're taking ordinance for the fine component. Otherwise, there's no way to enforce them from being in a public area.
I think the police and the chief or the lieutenant could talk about this. Don't you get random calls, cars parking down there and people?
We get from time to time, we get people from out of the area that come in there. Usually they've had some connection here that they know the area, know the spot, and they select their own little treasure they found to go fishing there. But it is a danger for people to be wandering on the rocks.
Yeah, I mean, it's not built for any kind of fishing off the edge.
It's just different random people come down there and park and go fishing,
Yeah,
like they do over on George Bush Shoulder.
Yes.
Well, no parking would be a start right
Yeah,
away.
that's a good start, right?
Yeah,
Now, if you can do that right,
right away.
then we can think about this, maybe talk about it next month.
Okay.
That's where we go further.
The town really only has two public areas to get, one to the beach, and then that's the only place that's public to get to the water on the intercoastal.
That's wild.
Yeah, and so, as you know,
Well, they were
Sea Road goes right up to the sea, to the beach. And,
Public means it's town property.
it's a right of way. Sea Road actually goes to the beach.
Okay, well, let's, I think we're probably in agreement with that, with the sign, and then we'll talk about it next.
Okay. And that's it.
ARPD meeting, well, there is no meeting this month. Next one will be September 24th at 8:30, if you wish to attend. Finance report and water.
Yes, the finance report is this represents 10 months. I would just encourage you to read some of Rebecca Sue's notes in the beginning of this. I won't go through them. I mean, you have them. I think it's all very positive information. And with that, I would ask that you, unless you have any questions about the 10-month report, I would ask you to approve it.
Any questions on the finance report or water usage? Very good, thank you. Chief?
These work being accepted as submitted. I'll give you a quick update on our stolen car issue.
First place.
This month, knock on wood, we haven't had any cars taken. The last car that was taken, last month actually was taken the same day of commission meeting. And that was recovered. We have 10 total, cars that were stolen. 6 of them have been recovered. Reported have not, or 2 Land Rovers have not been recovered in 2 portions.
Were any of the vehicles in the vessel, southbound vessel, where?
We haven't been contacted by them to give us any information whether there was any or not. Or like it or not, or we would have been told by them.
Okay. But I guess there was a raid in Miami.
Oh.
Covered many vehicles, but
Okay.
stolen, loaded on.
Just to offset our stats a little bit, you know, when you have things stolen and you haven't recovered, it kind of offsets whether it's recovered from your jurisdiction or not. But one of the officers did make an arrest the other night on a guy riding a stolen scooter.
I saw that.
So that helps our stats a little bit.
Yeah, it offsets one that's stolen. Good, doing a great job. Thank you, Chief. All right, let's move on to the ordinances. Ordinance 20/3 is being brought to us again on second reading. Ms. Taylor.
An ordinance, the Town Commission of the Town of Gulfstream, Palm Beach County, Florida, amending the Town Code of Ordinances at Chapter 66 zoning, Article 8, supplementary district regulations, Division 2 accessory structures and recreational facilities, Section 66-369 docks, providing for severability, providing for repeal of ordinances in conflict, providing for codification, and providing an effective date. And it's presented on second reading for adoption this 14th day of August, 2020.
Thank you. Ordinance 20/3 has been brought to us for second reading and adoption.
Motion to approve ordinance 20-3 as presented by the town clerk.
Ms. Taylor.
Vice Mayor Stanley?
Yes.
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein? Commissioner Lyons?
Yes.
Mayor Morgan?
Yes. Let's move on to ordinance 20/4 that is also brought on second reading. Ms. Taylor.
An ordinance of the Town Commission of the Town of Gulfstream, Palm Beach County, Florida, adopting and enacting an updated and reproduced code for the Town of Gulfstream, providing for the repeal of ordinances not included therein, providing a penalty for the violation thereof, providing for the manner of amending such code, and providing when such code and this ordinance shall become effective, presented on second reading and adoption this 14th day of August, 2020.
Ordinance number 20/4 has been brought for second reading and adoption. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve ordinance 20-4.
Second.
Ms. Taylor.
Vice Mayor Stanley.
Yes.
Commissioner White.
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein.
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons.
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes. Ordinance 20/5, Mr. Nazaro.
Thank you, Mayor. This ordinance will promote and protect the general health, safety, and welfare of the residents of Gulfstream by regulating small cell wireless facilities in the right of way. This ordinance was drafted by Gary Resnick of the Gray Robertson Law Firm, who is intimately familiar with the law in this area. Staff, along with Mr. Randolph and I, reviewed the ordinance with Mr. Resnick to explain that the length is due to its implementation of a new statute that is 19 pages long. Mr. Randolph called the ordinance comprehensive and said it touches on everything he wanted it to touch on.
Questions? If not, ordinance 20/5 has been presented at first reading. Is there a motion? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, read it.
I'm getting ahead of myself.
I'd rather not.
Conclude.
An ordinance of the Town Commission, Town of Gulfstream, Florida, amending the Town Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 34, Article 6, entitled Undergrounding of Utilities, Sections 34-103 to 34-109, and by repealing and replacing Appendix A, Telecommunications Ordinance of the Town Code of Ordinances, known as the Town of Gulfstream Telecommunications Ordinance, with a new Appendix A entitled Gulfstream Communications Rights of Way Ordinance, providing intent and purpose, applicability, and authority to implement, providing definitions, providing for registration for placing or maintaining communications facilities in the public rights of way, providing requirement of a permit, providing application requirements and review procedures, providing for bonds, providing for construction methods, providing development and objective design standards, providing for fees and taxes, providing enforcement remedies, providing for severability, providing for codification, providing for repeal of ordinances in conflict, providing for an effective date, presented on first reading this 14th day of August, 2020.
Thank you. Ordinance 20/5 has now been read. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve ordinance 20/5.
Second.
Ms. Taylor?
Vice Mayor Stanley.
Yes.
Commissioner White.
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein.
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons.
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes. Thank you very much. Let's move on to the auditor bid award. Mr. John?
I'll be handling that, Mayor. Earlier this fiscal year, the Town Commission created an auditor selection committee under Florida statutes to fulfill the town's obligations for procurement of auditing services. The auditor selection committee was formed to fulfill all of its obligations under Florida statute 218-391, except for making its recommendation, which Mr. Lyons is going to do now as the chairman of that committee.
Paul?
Yes. Let me introduce the subject with, as chair of the Auditor Selection Committee. I was fortunate, I stress, I was fortunate to have two experienced and very qualified committee members, Tracy Stevens, Ocean Ridge Town Manager, and Linda Stupp, the Nalapan Town Manager. After the request for proposal was issued, the town received two bids from two qualified firms, Nolan, Holt and Minor, Grau and Associates. Each of the committee members reviewed independently the two proposals. Based on the submission by the respective accounting firms, together with research done by the town staff, each of the committee members then completed a auditing services selection evaluation form. And I believe you all have copies of how each of the members of the committee rated the firms. And Nolan, Holt, and Minor was given the highest score and is the one that we're recommending to be our auditor going forward. Any questions?
Any questions? All right. Is there a motion to approve the recommendation of the Auditor Selection Committee and select Nolan, Holt, and Minor?
To recommend Nolan, Holt, and Minor as the accountant. As per the selection, the committee recommendation.
Is there a second? Second. Very good. Ms. Taylor?
Vice Mayor Stanley.
Yes.
Commissioner White.
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein.
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons.
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes. Let's move on to, this is a settlement agreement between the town of Gulfstream and Anthony S. Turner. Mr. Mazzaro?
Thank you, Mayor. This is a lien reduction hearing in accordance with town code. a settlement agreement has been submitted. There's a unique history of this property. It is in many respects identical to a previous settlement agreement that we entered into with the property owner. And here on behalf of the applicant is Terry Glickson of Ironwood Properties. Mr. Glickson would like to address the commission, and you can refer to that, I'm sure there.
Good morning, Mr. Glickson.
Good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. I'm here as somewhat of an intervener, is the closest thing I could equivocate this to, in that the agreement is really between the town and the current owner. We are a contract purchaser of the property, and if that purchase goes forward, we would then inherit the obligations under the settlement agreement. I would tell you that this property, just as a slight digression, has been very challenging. As you know, we have a proposed development for the adjacent golf club and fine property, and that has been somewhat held in abeyance in trying to integrate this property into that development application. For the same reasons it's been a problem for the town, we view it as a longer term problem in the uncertainty, the unsightliness, as well as some other issues. But the problem has been the clarity of title. Since the conveyance in 1945 by the club to the then property owner that subdivided and platted Plaza Soleil, and this property, it's undergone a number of recorded instruments that impacted some of the lots in Plaza Soleil, the easement modifications that the club did, some to a lesser degree, some easement modifications agreed to by the town. Along the way, there was not a lot of, for lack of a better word, synergy between the parties in terms of looking to see how one instrument might have been impacting a prior instrument. And we've provided some information to the town in an effort to try to resolve this. I think some of it may in fact just be unresolvable. It's just that unclear. And it's almost a property that is better in the hands of local government than given what's running through that property. The water irrigation line for the club and the water main for the town bisecting the property. It's just a very difficult property to underwrite and to develop. So this is our third attempt, and this was one of the things that was impacting title, the code enforcement violation, and this was a way to at least compartmentalize this so that we can put this on the shelf and try to knock down some of the other problems. And I'm here for any questions you may have.
If your purchase goes through, what are your plans with respect to the property?
Demolish what's ever there and resell the property to somebody who would build a home there. It doesn't really integrate into what we're doing, but because of the access, because it's an eyesore, we would like to eliminate that problem for our home buyers. It's just, we've tried a number of ways to redo the access to the property through our subdivision, redirecting it through Avenue Soleil, through the existing gates. It's just very hard for us to integrate it into our plan, but it's a problem for us. And that's been our continuing interest. We're just dealing with a current owner who isn't very sophisticated in terms of title matters, and it's been just difficult to it's a whack-a-mole problem, and we're not getting a lot of help on the other side. Once we get one of those things eliminated, it just seems to pop back up.
So our approval of this settlement agreement doesn't necessarily mean that you're purchasing those roads.
That's 100% accurate, and I just really am here to stress that is let's make it clear we aren't one of the bad guys that created this problem. We're trying to work with the town to resolve it, and this was just one of several title issues that's out there, and this just happened to come before. Trey was nice enough to put this on the meeting agenda, so this is one thing resolved, and it's on to the others.
It's the same amount that we had approved previously, Mr. Mazzaro?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Any questions?
What was the original amount of the fines against the property?
It is now at about, between 200 and 250,000, because it's been running since 2006. It was not a repeat violation, it was just a one-time thing. Mr. Turner constructed a dock on the property. He was actually in negotiations with the former manager Thrasher to come before the town and fix it and, bring it up to code. And then he died unexpectedly, and then that left the owner of the property sort of up in question with a bunch of different issues, and that's why this has continued to run, because no one would come forward to correct that violation. So it's not something that was, the code was not willfully flouted for a number of years. It was just something that kind of fell between the cracks for the question of who owns the property. So that's why I think the manager and the town would support this significant level of reduction in addition to everything that's contained in the settlement agreement with some of those issues that exist and filing.
It's in the town's interest to see that property move on. Any other questions? If not, is there a motion to approve the settlement agreement as presented between Gulfstream and Turner?
Motion to approve, settlement agreement.
Ms. Taylor?
Vice Mayor Stanley.
Yes.
Commissioner White.
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein. Commissioner Lyons.
I apologize. Can we step back for a moment? Trey, given that I'm on the board of the golf club, should I be voting on this? I don't want to screw up this document because I voted.
There's not a conflict of interest relative to the 2,900 property now.
Okay. Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes. Thank you. All right, let's move on to State A1 water main improvement change order.
Yes. Originally in the front contract for the water main improvement, all that was in King County Road was just put the water main in and then asphalt the trench itself and do nothing to the rest of the road. That would be scheduled for later in our CIP project program, but my recommendation is that this road needs to be milled and new lift of asphalt put in. The asphalt is breaking off at the edge of the pavement. People walk on this road all the time. You easily step off, break an ankle or something, and the road is not in good shape. So my recommendation is to go ahead and move this up and mill and asphalt that by Foster Marine as part of the current contract that we have with them. They'll be having these kinds of contractors out working on A1A. So their plan is to do A1A, come in and do this when they're done with A1A, so in a couple of months. And so the price of that is $19,475.
Comments, questions?
Like a pretty good price, it's a lot of pavement.
I would say so.
Well, it's actually, we thought it was 10 feet wide, but it's actually 14 feet wide. And so it's more asphalt than we
Talked to a driveway contractor lately,
So are you saying that you believe this is too much?
No.
Okay,
Maybe you
sorry,
can-
so then I'll let it go.
It's a fair price.
Okay, well, that's good. So, because we talked about that a lot with them. The other thing that they're doing, are they making some drainage improvements for some driveways, on the west side of County Road, so that long needs to be done.
Great. If there's no objection, is there a motion?
Motion to approve the change order to, pay County Road at $19,485.
Okay.
Ms. Taylor?
Vice Mayor Stanley,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwine,
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons,
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes. Any other comments by commission, staff? If not, thank you very much. Meeting adjourned.
Good job.